transitioning America out of Iraq. The implication was that the Democrats, if they took over, that they were going to do that.
Right.
But there was actually a breach of trust, I would call it, that occurred. Well, here's trying to offer the best construction on intention of why the leaders of the party would do that. I would say maybe they felt that that if they moved to get out of Iraq, that they would look less patriotic or something.
Could it be that you lose Iraq as a political moving point as it comes up to the presidential election? That if everyone came back and then it was all done and dusted by the time this election?
That's a possibility. The other thing is that the thing that I believed from the beginning, and there were people, I did Meet the Press in 2003, and when I raised this issue, Richard Pearl, who I was on Meet the Press with, just had the case of the vapors when I said that we went into Iraq for oil, and so there is this calculus about maintaining control over the second largest supply of oil in the world, and so I think that probably had something to do with it as well. But to me, politics isn't a game. If you give people your word on something, especially something as serious as ending a war, you keep your word. And this is, even though I am a Democrat and I try to help my party whenever I can, to me, there was something that was more important than just commitment to party. It was about commitment to the truth, and we shouldn't have been in there in the first place. American people were lied to. Iraq didn't have any weapons of mass destruction, didn't have the intention or capability of attacking the United States, was not a threat to the U.S., and so we shouldn't have been in there to begin with. So that if you have that fact, and then on top of it you put a promise to withdraw, and then they keep you there, you can understand why I just felt so strongly about what are we doing? We should be getting out, and I still feel that way, frankly. I still feel it.
So, taking it from a bit from what you said there, the lies that happened on getting into Iraq, the impeachment of Dick Cheney proceedings and George Bush.
The speaker, who I have the greatest respect for, is a friend of mine, made a statement prior to even taking her position as speaker, saying that impeachment was off the table. Now, the thinking, I assume, was don't roil the political waters, let the administration just stew in their own juices, and the American people will come back in 2008 and overwhelmingly, change the political tide in the country. However, in the meantime, there are people dying for a lie. And I think that the Constitution of the United States, which imposes very serious obligations on the Congress as a check and balance administration of abuse of power, was at stake here. And I feel that historically, as we look back on this time from a few years down the road, we're going to see that that Congress was derelict in its duty in not holding the administration accountable. It wasn't only about the war. I mean, if it was only about the war, that would have been enough. But it was about the changes in the nature of our civil liberties, the wiretapping and eavesdropping, the spying that's occurred, all of which occurred under circumstances that were illegal or unconstitutional. So I put forth a single article, three articles of impeachment relating to the president, one relating to the president, three relating to the vice president, and then 35 articles relating to the president. And there were more actually.
Sorry, one to the president, and then you say 35 to the president. Did that change? 35 became one? Or?
No, it started. The first one I introduced with respect to the president actually was the one with 35 articles.
Right.
And that had to do with the war, but it also had to do with aggression against other countries, and and with violation of civil liberties and a number of other matters. But I could have had over 100. Ever to hear them, I said, okay, I'll come back with one. which I did, about the war. They still don't want to touch that. My problem is it's about a lack of accountability, and then there's an imperial presidency, and the nature of the government changes. We lose part of our democracy if we don't hold a president accountable. A president is not beyond the reach of the public. It's not a king, and so we really have helped to enshrine an imperial presidency by Congress not holding this president accountable. And to me, this isn't a partisan matter. It's really about the Constitution. So the impeachment issue is gone. I mean, it's a nullity. It doesn't mean anything at this point. We have an election coming up in 2 days. Once the administration leaves office, I think it is possible down the road that George Bush and Dick Cheney and a few others could be held accountable under international.
Cool, I'm going to take one of these. I'm trying not to agree or disagree, I'm not going to, I've got to be Captain Impartial here. Well, here we go. So, first question from the box. Eddie and Dennis. Well, I was saying on the because I was talking to some radio stations while I was coming up here, and I feel, I don't know if anyone ever has totally the same politics. It's sort of impossible to, because otherwise we'd all be robots. But I was thinking that Dennis, on having met him before and learned a bit about him, and I thought this was an interesting way of doing it. I sort of wanted to lend the support. I didn't realize that the number of people from Hollywood who had been supporters and stuff. I didn't quite realize that. So I still think that's cool, because I was just reacting to you and how you were. In fact, we were in a car, he was driving a car in Cleveland when I was last here playing here, and I was talking about Transdanista. Remember this? And Transdanista. He knew Transdanista, which is the right-hand bit of Moldova in Europe that is totally kind of lawless and kind of a rogue state. They've said they don't want to, the Dniester is the river. And the people on the right-hand side of it said, actually, we're just going to be crazy. And there's Russian troops in there, and you've been there, haven't you? And so I thought, well, there's not a huge amount of people who are going to know where this place is. So it means that he obviously has a worldview, and he's been there and done that. And so I just liked his style, and also the whole football, the American football thing, that you were 4'9" and you were in your team because you body checked a big guy until you're in. Tell that story. What is? Well, first I will tell that story, but first I have to answer the question. Okay. So I thought, I'm an individual. I've had a struggle. Dennis is an individual. I've had a struggle in his area life, and a struggle in his political life, and a fighter. I'm makeup and fighting. That's my thing. And he doesn't like makeup. The whole boy male attitude to makeup, which you can't. And if you're a guy, you can't wear makeup at school. You can't say anything girly at school. That's a fight to the death thing. Whereas as a transvestite, I can wear and say stuff here, and still have fights. But that's me. Yeah. What do you think?
Answering the question. I like that you know where Transdanista is. When I went there, it was very interesting because you were given an armed escort with people with all these automatic weapons kind of stuffed in the trunk of their car. And most buildings there, it looks like a very gray set everywhere you go. And the people invite you into this hall where they're all wearing guns under their belt. And this is the government of Transdanista, the breakaway republic. It was an interesting experience. One of the things about being a member of Congress, you get a chance to travel to different places. We went to Moldova, which is an amazing country. They've had their share of problems. But Eddie, his humor is so intelligent. It is so right.